Helo pawb. Hello everyone. Yn y fideo yma, dwi'n mynd I dangos I ti sut I arlunio benglog. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to draw a skull. And the skull is going to be human. And the source material we're going to use for the skull is going to be an app called Anatomeg 360. The link for the app can be seen under the video. Okay, you basically download the app and you launch it from your desktop. I'll just open this up. Great thing about this app is that you can toggle between a female and a male skull. You can also rotate around the skull at different angles. You can do all kinds of things. You can play about the lighting. You can preview it as a sketch if you want. You can put perspective lines on it. Let's show you sketch mode. So that's a sketch mode. So you can put perspective mode on it. You can turn it off. You can do all kinds of things. You can play about the field of view. You know, you name it, you can do it with this. It's a great reference tool for artists interested in the human figure or portraits. There's a lot of different tools on their website and references on their website. Okay, right, so I'll just quickly explain the difference between the male and female skull. So I'll just put them face on. So just talk between the two. So the female skull generally is much more curved, really, and the male is much squarer. So you can see between the two there. It's most evidence really in the jawline. Jawline is much squarer. Okay, I'll just change the view so you can have a quick look at the different view. Okay, so this is the female skull. This line here, this jawline, is much squarer in the male. You see that's almost like a right angle that. Okay, so for this drawing, I'm going to focus on the female skull. I'll just zoom it out a little bit. So I'll be using this as a reference tool, and I'm going to be drawing this as we go along. I'm going to start drawing it, and I'll toggle between what I'm seeing and what I'm drawing. So I'll toggle between each bit of the drawing. So I'll just start off by getting the skull up. I'm going to start my drawing with a quick gestural sketch. Now I've done a general gestural drawing of the skull. Before I add any detail to my drawing, what I want to make sure of, first of all, is that my proportioning is correct. So what I'm like with all drawing, you need to use something as a reference point. So if you're drawing a figure, you use your heads as a reference point. You count how many heads there are in the figure. Obviously, this is just one big head. So I need to use something else as reference point. What I'm going to use is this eye socket here as reference point because I feel confident that that is correct. So on the reference material, I've just counted out that there are 2 1/4 eye sockets going that way, okay, going to the left. So I'm just going to count this now. So 1, 2 1/4. That'll do, that's fine. So going that way now, I'll count 1. So I'm counting the eye socket as well. So 1, 2, 2 3/4, I'd say. So 1, 2, that's 3. So I need to make it a little bit smaller. So I'll just rub that bit out. Okay, so for the above the eye socket, so I'm counting the eye socket again. So I'm choosing the two the highest point and the lowest point. And I've actually drawn lines going across horizontally, running parallel. So I've got that as a reference. So 1, 2.5. So on my reference material, I've got 1, 2.5. Okay. So that's fine. And then count below. So 1, 2, 3. So that's directly down. So I've got 1, 2, 3. So I need to bring that in a little bit. So that line needs to be brought in a tiny bit like that. So you carry on doing that with the rest of the skull. So you could do it across this way as well. So you're just using that as a kind of base measurement, like, you know, a ruler does with centimeters and inches. So whilst you're drawing, just start adding more detail to your gestural drawing and adjust it as you're going along. Remember to keep checking those measurements as you're drawing. So keep looking and keep drawing. Okay, so I've gone back to the source and I'm just going to keep looking and drawing. So making slight adjustments along the way. So whilst you're adding detail to your skull, it's always a good idea to actually feel your own skull and feel for the shapes that are already there. You know, feel the back of your head, feel your jawline, feel the bones underneath your skin. It'll give you a good sense of what you're drawing. So with the teeth, I'm not going to add the detail of the teeth yet. I'm just getting the basic shape of the teeth in. There's obviously quite a lot of detail in the teeth. And just keep a lookout for these negative spaces. So that I'm looking at this space particularly now, this space in between the jaw and the teeth. So I'm trying to capture that shape in my drawing. So I'm not going for detail, but I'm just kind of looking at those shapes there, roughly mapping out where the gum, you know, the teeth would go into the jaw to where your gums would be. Okay, so that's my basic line of form there. So for the next stage, I mean, whilst I was drawing out, I was checking angles and I was checking proportions. And I'll keep checking that as I'm adding more detail to this outline of form. These lines around the skull here are probably a bit too rounded. So I need to kind of break those up a little bit here. And so I'll be adding more detail to line form. I'll be working out where the shadows go because I'm going to shade this drawing. And I'll be drawing the teeth in as well, which will take a while. So it's a good idea to, when you're drawing something that is kind of fairly repetitive. So I'm looking at the teeth now. I'm going to just kind of count how many teeth I can see. So I've got 1, 2. So it's 2 to that point there. I'm just gradually mapping that bit out. So I've got 2 there. So I've got 1, 2. These 2 front teeth. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So they're quite large. 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. So I'm just lightly drawing these in. 7, 8. Okay, so I've got my teeth fairly roughly drawn in, and I'll make some slight adjustments as I'm going along. So the next stage, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding tone. When you're adding tone, it's really helpful to have a scrap bit of paper over it whilst you're shading, so you're not smudging your drawing. So it's really helpful as a little scaffold for yourself. So when you're adding tone, you need to experiment with the amount of pressure that you apply on your pencil. And your rubber is a really useful tool. You shade, try and shade in the direction of the form. Okay, so I've finished off quite a bit of the shading. I'm now going to work on the background shadow because that'll make it look a bit more 3D. If you look at the background shadow in the reference, I'll just show you this now. You can see it's spotlit, and there's a bit of a kind of like almost like a box shadow there as well. Okay, so I'm going to focus on that now. So with the shadow, try and create fairly uniform shading using the side of my pencil. So now I'm just going over the back of the skull very loosely and lightly, just getting in those more rougher textured points. There's also the cracks in the skull, so I'm just going to focus on that very loose line. Okay, I'm just going to leave it there. Right, so I hope you enjoyed that and hope you found it helpful. So that's a skull drawing using Anatomy 360 as a reference point. Okay, thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr.